I have a homeowner that has a 175 watt panels that are out, and he wants to replace them. He replaced the inverter, and now he's like, can I replace my panels? And I realized that the issue is, I think the manufacturer's still in business in this case, which is a lot of times not the case. But the manufacturer, like, I'm going to call the manufacturer and say, hey, how about them 175 watt panels? And they're going to be saying, like, what are you, nuts? We haven't made anything that small in
We're
10
not
years.
making 350 watt panels.
Yeah. So so it was fun because I gave him some options. He upgraded his inverter, so we were able to do almost as many panels. Right. But it's they're between 340 and 440 watts panels. So right. So he's getting a whole lot more power out of it. But now he wants to go back and say, hey, is it still under warranty? And I'm going to check. But so it's something else.
Is he going to end up buying new panels then?
He probably will. That was his first inclination. His other issue is that the panels technically still work. So right. I don't know if he can be covered under warranty, but.
So in this case, can he keep those and add some more 350 or 340 watt panels alongside the 175s?
You could do a hybrid, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because there's the way the inverter is set up. I think that it might allow for that. The big issue is the inverter, because if it's got two different inputs, because he only has one inverter. So generally you're going to do that. You're going to have two inverters and two arrays, and they're all completely separate. So anyway, but the point is that I think it's something for consumers to be aware of if they got a system under warranty, anything over 10 years. And it's going to be a matter of how in the heck am I going to replace, what am I going to replace it with? Because technology is evolving so much. Right. So I was in San Francisco and saw this system that was, it was actually not that close to the ocean, but I mean, it's San Francisco, so everything's close to the ocean. Yeah. But I think it was like in Bernal or something, but it still got plenty of sea mist and just the
afternoon fog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it had microinverters, very early gen microinverters. End phase, and it was good and bad. You could actually see, I couldn't get on the roof next to the system, but I could see from where I was about 10 feet away that there had been a significant, but then I looked at the performance of the system. I went and looked at the utility bill, and it was like, man, this thing is still actually, and they were all metal. I think, these metal boxes that were underneath. Yeah. Enphase doesn't do any, it's a completely different look and profile and everything in right now. Yeah. But it was fun to see that they were still working on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's like, you're going to replace it with, it's going to be a completely different product that you're looking at. So I think that's something for people to keep in mind, is that you're going to be, if replacing it is not just a matter of, is the warranty still valid? It's how can I get that? So, but, and then the last thought on that, which I think is going to be another thing in the industry for us to think about. I think, you were talking about how O&M is going to be a next trend. And I think that's absolutely right. But after that, or as part of that, I think we really need to start focusing on not only recycling. The Department of Energy has announced a huge initiative now to try to recycle panels, which is great, but also just refurbishing and repurposing or reusing. There's a whole spectrum of things that we can do with systems that go well beyond. And so I think it's just thinking about it more. And for us, because we're going to be the last one, a lot of times we're going to be the last ones to touch the equipment. So what we do with them is going to be the difference, right? If we decide to throw them away, or then that's it. So I think something to keep in mind. So good stuff.
Yeah, that's something that I was discussing at a breakfast meeting today. That the fact that we're probably somewhere between 500,000 to 750,000 systems being installed right now on residential per year in the US. And the total stock is probably close to 3 million homes. I would say somewhere between 2 to 3 million homes having solar. But I think very soon, or assuming 60 to 70 million homes actually go solar, which is like 60 to 70% of all homes in the US. And assuming the the lifetime of these panels are 30 years,
Yeah.
and assuming a normal distribution, and assuming you replace 1/30th of the stock every year, that's probably going to be somewhere around 2 million to 3 million systems being replaced every year,
Right.
or being built every year and then being replaced every year too, once
Right.
we have the full infrastructure in place. And that's, you know, that's multiple times what the market is right now, and that's multiple times that, I mean, it's like roof replacements in the US.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's probably 3 to 4 million roof replacements happening in the US every year.
Yeah.
And along with that will be happening that many solar system replacements.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
not right now, but probably in 10 years.
On an annual basis. And when you start looking at it in those numbers, I looked, we did calculations a few years ago for our finance plan. And I went back and looked at them today and remembered that we estimated, and I think it's pretty much on track, that a little over 1 million systems would be owned by homeowners of that total you were talking about as of this year.
Yeah.
But in 2 years, it'll double. Like there'll be over 2 million.
Yeah. I mean, the solar market has been doubling every 2 to 3 years. For the last 30 years, this has been happening, in fact.
Right.
But it's only now big enough that people are noticing, because it started from like 0.0001% of all energy, but now it's like close to 3% of all energy. So yeah, and that's gonna continue doubling every 2 to 3 years going forward.
Yeah.
And it's business,
well, and it's fun to see, like I said, now with the majority of systems the homeowners own them, and it's still frustrating. You know, I think we have such a long way to go. I think, as you know, we want to spend more time educating homeowners, and that's got to be a huge part of what we do.
And technicians too. I know.
And technicians, right? Because they just don't know what they don't know. The lack of knowledge of solar installations across the board is so profound. But I think back about, I always kind of remind myself that when people had horses and buggies, you know, nobody knew what a carburetor was, or if they had carburetor, the early engines, but you know, internal combustion engine components were, and all these things that we take for granted now. But it's we're getting there. But it's got to accelerate. So we'll keep up the good work and we'll get there eventually.
Great. Well, thanks for sharing all this information, Greg.
Sure. It's fun, Kerim.